All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It is time for our July 2025 community call. I'm looking forward to joining you today on a very special one around creativity and joining you lakeside. So, again, want to bring this in today's world. I think many of you appreciate just the time spent in nature. It is my creative hub. And I'm looking forward to getting you, taking you really through a bit of a reflective experience. I can just share my screen. It will be good to have maybe a pen and a paper with you. We are going to talk today about creativity and also products, whether your product that you're thinking about might be an experiential product, whether it's a group program, maybe it is a book. There are so many different things that we can be doing in terms of moving from what I'm calling from spark to shelf. So if you're joining us today live, good to see you. And as I was saying, this is something people want to grab their journal around because we're going to be doing some work. So Ivana's just dropped in. Good to see you, Ivana. It's
Hi.
July, and today's topic, creativity and products from spark to shelf. So imagine you had a little box, and I have a new little box now. This is a part of my little product box that I'm carrying around all summer in the woods, in the car, just because I don't have my big office with me. But really, this topic is all about creativity in action. And so, want to take us through a couple of things today. The purpose of today's call is really to help coaches and entrepreneurs turn their creative ideas into a tangible offering. Just before you dialed in, I was saying, Ivana, this could be an actual physical product, something like our Reconnecting Workspaces Dice, our charms. I'm going to get into some of the cards. Could also be a tangible offering like a program, a group coaching offering, an e-course. It could be a digital download. It could be an entire book. But I really want people to start thinking about how can tools, creative tools like card decks, journals, retreats, actually scale impact, whether it is on demand and passive income, like some of the digital elements might be, or whether it is a high touch, high intensive experience where you can actually scale your impact significantly through a 1 day, 2 day, week long event. So, we're going to really highlight some real examples and actionable steps. And I've got a few things that I want to take you through, including a visualization. So, I want to invite everyone to just actually close their eyes. I'm going to stop my share for a moment and just want to bring you really into this space. And I wish you could sit here with me. You might hear the birds around me. Certainly, it's noon, but it's still a nice shady spot. I want to take you through this 2 to 3 minute visualization. So you can leave your eyes open. You can actually close your eyes. But I want to invite you to begin by arriving and to take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. I want you to feel your feet grounded and your shoulders soft and your jaw relaxed. Let the noise of the day settle because this is your time. First, start bringing awareness to your hands. These may be the tools of your work, your creativity you're making. Imagine a warm light building in your palms, glowing, flickering, alive. This may be the spark of something waiting to be created. Picture yourself walking into a quiet, sunlit, creative space. It might be a studio, a cabin, a dockside retreat, or a cozy writing nook. This is your creative sanctuary. It's filled with inspiration and possibility. So I want you to look around for a moment. What do you see? What colors, textures, or tools are calling you? Now, in the center of the space, you see something. Might look like a blank canvas. Actually, maybe it's an empty journal or a set of cards waiting for words. Your idea, the one you've been holding back or maybe half forming, is ready to take shape. What's the first word, image, or symbol that comes to you? Hold it lightly. Breathe into it. You don't have to create the whole thing now. Just take one step. Feel like what it's like to begin. To trust that whatever you create will serve others. And to know that your voice and your vision matter. Take a look around wherever that space is. What else do you notice? What else stands out? And when you're ready, bring your awareness back into the room. Wiggle your fingers, roll your shoulders, and breathe deeply once more. Because you are here, and you are ready, and you are creative. Creativity doesn't live on a time frame. Creativity can happen with sparks and embers and magic. So, welcome back. I want to invite everyone to maybe take a note. We'll just take 30 seconds to note whatever you'd like to capture your journey. So, Ivana, anything you want to mention?
Ah, sure. So, when you said you can open your eyes, close your eyes, and you said, look around you, I'm just staring. I'm blessed to have glass doors like that look out on my balcony. And when I did that, all I saw were the mountains, this
Ooh,
view from the seat. And I don't normally sit here, but today it's, serendipitous, but I see the mountains and I see a lot of terracotta. Terracotta really stood out for me, whether it be the color terracotta, my pots, my basil plant pots, and which made me think of the pottery I've created, So I think for me, a lot of this really is around, and thank you for the extra few minutes to write on it, is really like the nature, but connecting us to our own innate nature.
yeah.
And what does that look like for me? And what does that creativity look like for me? I have an idea. I'm not quite ready to share it with the world, but I have an idea, and it's been sitting with me. So I think it's time to take a small step
Yeah.
in that.
And that's really what this is, right? Creativity comes from a spark. We may sit with that spark for a while, maybe months, it may be years, but it goes through stages. And so what I want to share in today's call is a bit of that journey, right? It's not just like, oh, it's here, it's live. We start with a spark. We start with that inspiration and insight. We move into shaping it and sharing it and then scaling it. And I think for all of you listening in today, there's going to be different, you're going to be at a different part of the journey, right? You might even look at what you offer. Some things might already be launched and sold. You might have been running a program for years, but now what might it mean to scale? That's very different than starting the Spark process. So I want to take us through this. And again, thinking about the spark, maybe there was a bit of a spark here. Maybe it was just, something that you can't even put your finger on. But I'd like to invite you to think about what is a tool, a question, or a process you use regularly with clients, right? There might be something you do all the time. And I think, as I said, I wanted to bring some real-time examples. I'm going to just share first, as I dive to the bottom of the box, I'm going to share our Conversation Sparker journaling cards, which were actually created. These came out in 2019, so 6 years ago, and were evolved from a series of blog posts that I had done every week on my blog, on the Teams 365 blog. And so what's interesting at the top, and these I haven't used since my writer's workshop a few weeks ago. So what was on top was, if I were to describe myself as a superpower, it would be. And for those of
Wow.
you who have been with us, you know that our fourth course on the journey to the ACTC, or advanced training in group and team coaching, is all about the team and group coaching superpowers programming. So even in 2019, this was one of 52 cards. Where did that spark come from? It came years before that. It was only 2021 when I launched the quiz, 2022, the program. So I want to really use some of these examples, as you don't know how long the spark is going to be there. It might be there for a long time. And I'm just going to randomly pull another one and just see if there's anything. So I have two that came out. I'll go with the first one. A daily practice, which is helpful, is, and I can't say for a creative, whether we see ourselves as creative or not, we need to build in space and time, right? I'm very fortunate to have designed an annual practice where I get to spend weeks to months living out of here. It takes me, actually, I'm noticing this year, a couple of months to just really start to decompress, to get clear on whatever creative projects I want to work with. And this is the space where I wrote most of my second book, most of From One to Many, that summer of 2012. Almost every chapter was either drafted and or finished. And so this has always been like a really creative space. It's where last summer my creative projects were, of course, the cards, which became deckable on the Deckable app, physical cards for the 90-day guide for success, and also, surprise, surprise, forgot about this, the superpower deck. So, again, what is
Mm,
it? All of these have emerged from tools, questions, and processes we use with clients. For years, I was asking coaches, how do you need to show up in your coaching conversation? That led to the whole superpower framework. These journaling cards were actually inspired, sparked by this notion of teams want and need something a little different that they could use in their team meetings. And so I had already launched, the Conversation Sparker journaling cards. Those were bigger, but not as big as, say, the ones I lugged around the world. And so I figured I was actually going to shape these a little differently. I didn't want them as a card. Yeah, so you can see Ivana's got the Conversation Sparker original deck, which are visuals, not textual. The journaling ones I wanted to be different because I was hearing from a lot of team leaders pre-pandemic. So again, these came out in December 2019 as a physical offering. Um, I want something that I can just quickly grab, have either in my desk or my, briefcase, that I can bring out at a team meeting, something that we can around the table use. And so I opted for a 52 deck, right? There's actually multiple volumes of this because I did the blog posts. So there's a blog post behind this too. I did the blog post for several years, about 3 years. So there's really three versions of the deck. But what team leaders practically started using this for, and so I want to again spark some ideas, is they would, one team that I know, they sent me a note pre-pandemic again saying, we love this. Our plan for 2020 is to do one question a week. We're going to
mm,
pull a card every Monday at our team meeting. Another team leader wound up bringing these into her one-on-ones, right? And she would invite her team member to just pull a card. you can use anything anyway, but it is that spark to conversation and then insight. Now, what was interesting, right? I was so excited about this product. I thought, wow, these are even better than the photo cards because I think sometimes photos are a little too much of a reach, and this is something that really sparks dialogue. But then, 4 months after launch, boom, pandemic comes. So what happened? Well, these became, and they still sell quite well, a digital download and as a PDF. So coaches have actually been using these, the journaling conversation sparker cards, in presentations, right? You buy the license to the actual questions, so you can use them in lots of different ways in the digital or physical space. So that is just an idea of like, what is something? What is a tool, a question, or process you use regularly with clients? And simply, these were originally born from questions that I was asking all the time. And the third one that I picked up, I said I picked up two that came out at the same time. The question is, my or our most important contribution this year is. And I think that's really fitting, whether we look at it through our own business lens or we ask our clients. The world is changing so much in 2025. What has been that important contribution so far this year or mid-year? I'm sure there might be most, but a lot of people, especially right now, are focusing on what isn't working. But what is? How do we reframe that as a strengths question? So, anything you want to share? You enjoyed that? Is any gold coming out there for you, Ivana?
Just a validation of what you're saying because my card decks, my charms, my journal prompts are on right beside me because I've worked with a few one-on-one clients today, and we've kicked off the conversation with them choosing, do you want charms? Do you want pictures? Just to start that dialogue. So, it's not so much around like me and the creation of this, but even like what again like that possibility of spark not only for us but for our participants, for our clients, you
Yeah.
know and you've actually you sharing that your team leader, you shared a couple things, but I'm like, Ivana, you have these decks and you're not using them for your own creativity. So I'm gonna like start that. I'm gonna make with the journal prompts and do that once a week. I
Yeah.
really like that idea and just kind of, get me anchored and grounded. So I really appreciate that.
And I think that's a great segue to the second phase of shape it, right? Like how does the spark become an idea and become a format? So it could be a practice of like, oh, I'm going to journal on this every week. In developing a product, it's like, what is the right thing? How can something be valuable? Like I said, it could be physical, it could be digital, it could be a hybrid. Are you wanting to create a deck, a journal, a workbook? Are you wanting to create an experience? Right? So we have like just such a range in the product landscape. Is that spark? So one of the sparks I've had in the writing process of the last couple of weeks is yet again, a whole new line of business. I will not name the business yet, but there is copyrighted and possibly trademarked names coming forward that are totally outside of the ecosystem. But I can now see a whole line of business that's totally different from what we've been doing at Potentials Realized, but fits a very specific niche and fits another line of our work around experiences and retreat work. And again, what's the format? It's not going to necessarily be a deck, it's going to be an experience, which is also another product line. And so the spark for this was set 30 years ago, right? It's nothing new. It's old, but it's new in format. And I just think sometimes we feel like, oh, I need to be more creative. Well, maybe there is some fanning of the flame that needs to happen.
Mhm.
And as you shape your ideas, right, this is where you can do it alone. But I think the creative churn and the creative support, gentle support we get when working with others is really, really important. And so you don't even know this yet, Ivana, but one of the programs I'm going to bring back this fall is the Learning Lab and Design Studio. So
Mm.
that is a bi-weekly group that meets to really look at your program design, at how you learn, how you craft learning programs. It's been on hiatus for about a year and a half, but I'm bringing it back because not only do I want it, but people need it, right? It's really like, how do we move from spark to shape? How do we move from idea and inspiration to something that actually we can test, we can create prototypes around, we can actually like start to do it so that we can get to the phase of sharing it, right? Because as a business, we've got to get our work out into the world, right? Hopefully your work is not just a hobby, it's something that can actually support you in many creative ways. So the Learning Lab and Design Studio originally launched in 2010, I want to say 15 years ago. And the intent of that whole, program is really a bi-weekly space to come and think about your learning and what you're creating in the world so that you can share it, right? This is not I'm going to do it 20 years from now. It's like, how do we help you do this spark, shape, share, scale quickly? And that may be a program. So it could be you're wanting to launch a beta group, you're wanting to design a challenge and get it out in the world, you're wanting to do a retreat series, you're a team coach and you want to be doing more team coaching. Learning Lab and Design Studio will help you with that. But for now, I want you to think about what is that thing that you want to be taking to market, to get out, to scale, to actually share with the world. Because in all the change that is happening right now, the bigger the change, the bigger the opportunity. And
Mm.
so, what is it that your clients are asking for? Are they asking for more on demand? Are they asking for high touch, high impact in person? Are they asking for creative tools? Are they asking for a book? Are they asking for a podcast? All of these could fit this model. So I see Ivana is got some creative juices there. I will not go, but again, the invite here is to think about how might you get your work out into the world? What is that creative leap? And I'm going to say leap because for most of us, the path to creativity is never very clear. We have to make a lot of leaps along the way. And one of the big leap is this is why it's a four-part framework: idea to format, spark to shape, shape to share, share to scale. And certainly each one of those takes a massive leap of faith, risk, and support. It's hard to do all of this alone. So, if you are at the share stage, what is it that you want to launch? What is not yet finished? Because a lot of launches, there's multiple steps to it. Selling, maybe you've already brought something to market, but you want to dust it off and you want to bring it back to market. Or maybe you want to scale it, which is the last piece. And scale is about taking those road tested products and making it bigger. You mentioned the charms. I think, I am always amazed as I brought all these products to the writer event. People were like, oh, can I buy them? And that wasn't the intent, but they did. Did a lot of sales. And I was curious. I was like, what were people going to gravitate to? What do you think is the number one? And this looks a little different than the pouch one you have, but it was the charms. So I have some of these in waterproof packaging because people want waterproof, which is yet another way to scale. So for us, I'm going to just pull a charm for the moment. And isn't it interesting? It's the lock.
Oh, wow.
It's the lock, but it's a very, very maybe that hopefully the camera's fitting in. It's a very intricate one, right? There's lots of layers on it. When I see a lock, I think of that famous lock, the famous set of locks in um, France, I think it is, in Paris, where people put a lock on this like gate. It's not a gate, it's like a what is it, a fence? I guess the word is better as a fence, but to show their commitment to another person. And I
Hmm.
think there's a commitment to creativity that is important at this moment in time because a lot of this again is a leap of faith. So that is a charm. And I say like the charms, I really want to get the charms out in the world a lot more broadly than they're going right now. Because like you said, you smile every time you say the charms. I saw the smiles of the charms with people at the writing workshop, including people who had seen them last year and were like, I'm so glad you brought them back. They remember it. And again, in a world of every moment needs to be remembered. It's good to see people remembering things. So,
Jen, can I just share something that through the use of the charms that happened this morning very quickly?
absolutely, go for it.
So, I used the charms with a client of mine, and I wanted to be more of the firecracker, the catalytic firecracker, and being disruptive because that's the challenge I'm giving myself. And so I asked her, pick the charm that represents what's blocking your progress in your goals.
Ooh, good question.
And yeah, and she picked the tortoise. And I won't say what she said for confidentiality, but what I will say is it helped us to go and explore some beliefs, some perspectives. Like we're
Mm,
now talking about going below the waterline, that being the disruptor, we'll say, or whatever the provocateur, opened up the conversation again with a visual, with a charm that it allowed, like the charm allowed the deeper conversation to even be possible, which
hmm.
maybe a powerful question is good, but to accompany that with a tool just actually makes it even more profound. So I just want to share that. And I'm thinking like, even with my own groups, like even bringing that provocateur, or for those listening, like these are tools of transformation, of growth, of possibility, and like what is possible through all of these.
All of these. And again, this is, I'm sharing these on two parts, right? Well, it goes from idea to product to
Yeah.
scale. And with the charms, that happened really, really quickly, right? That was a year ago, January. Within a
Mhm.
few weeks, I had the whole branding done with the support of a creative community I'm part of. The next week, it was selling individually. Then I got an order for like 100. And then that 100 came back and ordered another 100 this year, right? And
Wow.
so that was enough to say, oh yeah, this is really on it. And that's allowed me then to build out, right? We've got facilitator tips with the pause, focus, create, activate framework, which is the conversation sparker framework.
Mhm.
And it then fed the funding for the dice. So the final piece that I want to leave us with is actually getting us to roll the dice because it's the final product, which has had some purpose. And you'll see it with the dice of the week. Again, for people who are wanting a little different, maybe you've already got the cards, right? You can see the 90-day guide for success cards there. They're digital, they're physical. We've done the charms, but now let's roll the dice. And I think the dice are yet again very, very different. So you mentioned it yourself, Ivana. There's the iceberg. What's below the waterline? What is below the waterline? Second one, and I'm just confirming that I've got these right. So there's a little card in here to tell us exactly what it is. Next one, networking, right?
Mhm.
Community. Community is critical as an entrepreneur and also as a creative. So who is in your community? That is number two. And then number three, also aligned with what we've talked about today, prioritization. What's important, right? We may have 100 creative ideas, but what is the most important? I have a creative decision to make today, and I'm going to take it to my coach because I can't do it alone. I have these three manuscripts beyond a fourth that's ready to go, but like, which one do I take to a publisher?
Mhm.
I can sort of roll it around. I've rolled it around with ChatGPT. I need to talk it through with my coach because, like you said, she's going to ask me questions that I am not able to ask myself. So, three different products, a framework of spark, shape, share, and scale. If you're thinking of launching something, or you're even in that creative spark, what's going to fan the flames? What's going to keep it alive?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what I wanted to share today. Really just, get you thinking about the conversation. This framework I've been talking about a lot, but it's going to show up in some articles later this year. And I just had news before this call. There's an article coming out within the next week on the coaching tools company website around team coaching, which has a connection in with all of what we've been talking about today. So I hope people will enjoy it. Any reflections before I go into our top three takeaways?
Yeah, for me, once we say bye, I'm actually going to bring the perspective of creativity and this project to these three dice and do some journal reflection. I'm actually like that might be something that people who are listening to this call, like so they have a takeaway from the call is looking at the iceberg. So I'm already thinking like what are the beliefs? What are
Yes.
my values that like the beliefs that might be holding me back, but also then those values that might move me forward, the perspectives. You know,
Hmm.
these three pieces, the networking, like a community. Who can I lean in on? Who can keep me accountable? You know, the
Yes.
prioritization. And I love what you said. Like to me, there's a little bit of the balance of marketing, but also sales
Yeah. It's
as
both.
an entrepreneur, as a innovator.
So if
So
you'd
I'm
be
just
open to this, I'm going to take a photo so that we can actually share it with this. Are you open to
sure.
that? Okay,
Yeah,
because
sure.
again, you've so nicely framed that in terms of how do we use these tools individually or collectively? It's reflection. It really is a
Yeah.
reflective prompt.
Well, and
So,
I think because we're all here listening to this call in terms of getting that sparking or whatever, wherever we are in the S journey of creativity. But I think these dice are really a great based on, serendipity or, the law of attraction, what we've been able to draw. And I think this can really spark some momentum, some next steps for
yeah.
me at least, and maybe some of the listeners.
I love it. So as you get into those next steps, just remember you already have content. You already have ideas. Start with what you use often. Maybe it's a tool. Maybe it's not a piece of information, but it's a process you take people through.
Mhm.
Number two, keep it simple. Start with one idea, iterate, bring it to clients this week. Do it. Do it 5 times, 20 times, 100 times with people, because that's where you see what has legs and what might be just a nice idea or what might need to be changed. And just remember that, we are coaches, but products build reach and revenue. They're working when you're not in the room. They are having impact when you're not in the room. And someone will see it and go, oh, that's sort of neat. Where did you get it? And things evolve by word of mouth. So thank you, Ivana, for joining us today. As we wrap up, more information coming on the Learning Lab and Design Studio, which will start back in September. I've been doing boosters. So Wednesday, I'm doing an AI booster day, really looking at how do we partner with AI so that we have more creative space. That's why I'm bringing AI in here, because if we're always working on our business, there's not a lot of mental bandwidth for creativity. We're sucked into the hard work. I'm going to do a Product Spark worksheet that you can download. So just stay tuned for that. And you can always book a 15-minute call to explore your creative ideas. Calendly.com/Jen Britton. What's your takeaway, Ivana, as we go to wrap up?
It just takes, I think the biggest takeaway for me was just normalizing through your own sharing around the conversation sparker, like that, the fact that you drew that journal prompt and you created that thing in 2019 to then lead like it's okay, Ivana. The spark is there because the idea has not vanished. It's like, okay, then what is the next step to take that spark with that spark? It might not ever launch, but we need to take a next step. That's really my takeaway and where I am is perfect. And how can I use the tools that I use with my own clients for myself and my own sparking of creativity, including AI? I think that was something that you just touched on, but how can we use AI as a partner, as a networking, in terms of the DICE community? Where does AI play into that?
Whole other conversation. So,
All
with that, we are back in 2 more weeks. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but 2 more weeks on Tuesdays at 12 noon. Thanks,
yes.
everyone, and have a great day. It was great to see you. And if you could, just after this video, share what your biggest learning was. That would be amazing. All right, we'll see you soon. Enjoy your summer.